How's it going, everyone? I've got a video here, and I don't do a lot of videos. Okay, I figured I needed to let people know kind of some ideas about these self-watering containers. Okay, and I know this is about to be a season to start growing, and I'm really interested in using these self-watering containers this year. In Texas, we get so much heat, we just need it. It's too hard to try to water or set up drip systems and all this stuff when you can just do one of these containers. So okay, um, I saw a lot of videos with the 27-gallon storage containers, and I was like, you know what? That's a really good idea. And what's really great about these is, I had seen a video with a guy, and I'm sorry about my microphone coming back and forth. I saw a video with a guy that he paid $13 for one of these, and I can't believe it. But they got on a price, and right now Home Depot is having a sale on them. They were $8.97. So I was like, well, hey, I'm down for a deal. I love to save money. So I figured, why not? I've watched all these videos, and the videos that I've seen, people that have used these as the self-watering system, wicking system. And what they do is they go through and they spend a lot of time cutting these lids out. And I'm telling you, I mean, and then even in some of the videos I saw, the lids weren't cut out that good, and there was gaps along the edge when they put the lids in there. And I was like, well, dirt's just going to fall down in those over time, and take up some of that space. And I had watched other videos where people were having a lot of success. They were having a lot of success just using this corrugated drain tubing. And so I said, you know what? These containers, they're literally made perfectly to get the drain tube, because the videos I saw with some of these people, they were using circular containers, and they were wrapping this stuff in circles and cutting in different lengths or this and that. And it's almost like this container is made for it, okay? So I thought to myself, I said, well, why go through and cut one of these and put big holes in it and drop down dirt into the water and get the dirt to wick up on several places, when you can go and get one of these containers and you drop 3 of these in here. They're almost perfect, and then the dirt is on each side, and on the edges there's about an inch gap with 3 of them with 3 4-inch tubes in here, and the dirt itself is going to wick up. You don't have to worry about going and cutting into these things, which I can't imagine how much time that would take, because to tell you the truth, if you're making one of these, sure, maybe doing that could be an idea, and it's still going to take you a while. But I made 4 of these. Okay, I'm kind of go big or go home, and so what I found was when I went to Home Depot and priced all this stuff, it was priced very fair. The container itself cost $9, and then the flex drain is what it's called. Here's my receipt. The flex drain is only literally $7.98 for 12 feet. So literally one 12 feet. I bought three of 12 feet sections. So I bought 36 feet of drain pipe, and it worked out perfectly to make these 4 bins. I had maybe about 6 inches left over. Okay? And so if you're asking how you seal up the ends, I just used I used a shirt that basically had never even been worn before and hanging in our closet. And the shirt is polyester, like 80% polyester, 20% cotton. And so I thought to myself, I said, well, let's ask AI, let's ask Gemini how long polyester will last in soil. And it was something like 200 years. I was like, okay, I think that should last a pretty good amount of time for what my project is going to be. And all I did is I cut out sections of the shirt. I used a couple of zip ties. You know, I didn't have the ones long enough, so I had to cut it. You know, I had to connect them together. And so it took basically um, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It took 12 of the 6-inch zip ties, and then I cut about 22 inches long of PVC pipe, and it goes down into the hole here. Now, for the hole, you know, you might think it's got to be hard cutting into this stuff. I'm going to tell you this: an X-Acto blade cuts through this like butter. And for this, all I did, instead of trying to cut a circle, you don't do that. What you do is I used a white paint marker that was laying around in my wife's art stuff, and I just marked little dots around the circle, and I cut like a pizza pattern, starting on one end, working my way, going that way, and it's so, you know, kind of like a pie. And then I got the nice shirt, and I punched a hole. I punched the tubing down through the shirt, and it all stayed together. And then I wrapped it around, and I would tie it off, and then I would cut. Then I would cut the shirt after I had put the tubing in and everything. So I didn't really have to measure anything out. And so the whole concept with these is you want to leave an air gap on the top. You don't want to have this fully submerged in water. That causes root rot. You need oxygen down here, right? You need a little oxygen, so you leave a space. And the reason how you have that space all on the top of all these little seams is you put a drain tube. You put a drain tube on the side of here, and you drill it from this side, okay? Or you mark it from this side so you'll know exactly where to put it. You got the drain tube here, you pull it back a little bit, and I used a white paint marker and I put it up there, and so I had a little white dot. And then I got my drill, and I used the smaller bit first. You know, you go with something smaller first in this, and then you get your biggest bit. Now, you could, in theory, use something else, but it's easier with the drill bit, right? So I started small, and then I got my biggest one on there, and it almost works perfect, okay? Now, I use copper pipe, and I know not everyone has copper pipe laying around. I just collect a bunch of junk, so I got copper pipe from some of the plumbing that I had to do over the years. And that bit went in, and I barely had to ream my drill around. And I'm telling you, man, if you just watch what you're doing and fit it as you go, I can't even get this thing in and out. It doesn't even have to be glued in or anything. Just dry fit. I can barely turn it. I mean, it takes a lot of force just to turn it. And you cut a little hole in your fabric here. And because this stuff is stretchable, all it takes is a little pinhole, and it'll open up to fit that in there. And so no dirt is going to compromise this channel and get in here. I did watch a video of a guy that had a beautiful above ground bed that he had maintained for like 8-9 years, and he had used this corrugated tubing, and he had used pond liner on the bottom, and he had a drain hole, everything the same way. And the only reason that that system failed was because a tree root had found its way up through the bottom of his container and had gone and started leaching into the the container, and the wood was starting to rot. So it had seen its days. But when he went, pulled out his corrugated tubing, he said hardly any dirt had made it in the 7 years. I can't remember if it was 7 or 9 years. It was minimum set. It was 7 years that had made it in there. So these things, just don't think dirt's going to just all of a sudden magically start filling these up. Okay, now you can rotate this around, and there's some small holes on one part, so they're not cut like symmetrical. And so I kind of have the small holes where I'll have them on the top just in case. And so you do your drain, and you make sure it's about an inch below, or it comes to the top of the corrugated tubing, okay? Because that's going to leave you the air. That's going to leave you the air. And then for the pipe, you want to make sure to cut at an angle the bottom of the pipe. And let me pull. I'll go ahead and pull one of these out. This one was already out. So you cut this at an angle, okay? And see how that just, it's just right in there. I can just pop that back in. I won't do it right now. But this is kind of an example of what it looks like, because I don't have a free hand to pop it back in. This is what it looks like, okay? And so this system right here, I think it's going to do just as good, if not maybe better, than one of these systems there where people are cutting on the lids. Now the final thing I want to point out, okay, and I will answer questions or whatever you want to comment. I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't care. If, I would appreciate it if you liked it. I really would appreciate it. That'd mean a lot to me. But either way, I'm just making this video so other people know. The dirt, you don't want to go through the time of making, especially if you did like me and you spent like 2.5 hours, building out these containers, and you have a failure rate be your soil, right? You want to make sure to use good soil. And that good soil is moisture control potting mix. This stuff is the only way you're going to get your stuff to wick up, is if you use a potting mix that has these ingredients. It needs to have spongium peat moss. It has to have perlite. Thank you, appreciate it. That's the Amazon people. And you want to have a medium that's built for this, right? You can go and buy that potting mix that's just basically a bunch of wood chips and freaking, agents that they get off a construction site, and they just don't make good potting mix any. It's just all a scam now. You spend like $8 for a bag of junk, and that just barely does anything. Yeah, and it drains real good, but that's all it does. This, to tell you the truth, this is what costs me the money, but it's an investment for me because this will last years. This was $18, and for this tub, from what I calculated, it's probably going to take about one and a half bags, okay? And so this is 50 dry quarts, and you just do the math, okay? I mean, you've got 27 gallons. I would estimate that about 20 gallons or maybe 22 gallons will be of soil. And so it's going to cost you some money for the medium, unless you're good with mixing soil and you have different components and you know how to make a good wetting agent. But honestly, I just went this route. I went on AI and used Gemini, and it told me this stuff was the stuff to use. And I asked Gemini, I said, well, where can I find it? And it said Home Depot. And they gave me the price, and I was like, wow, that's a good amount of money to pay for a bag of dirt. But for me, it's worth the investment to know that this is going to work, and I didn't go through all the trouble of building one of these out only to have it fail because I don't have a good medium that's going to wick up all the stuff. Another thing I would point out is one of the people that made one of these made a point to where you use the rim of this and you put it back on here, and then you can put your weed barrier down, and it holds everything down, you know. And so I may go and just cut these lids out for that purpose only when I've got some time. But you know, I have the luxury of having some tools, and he had used the best way to cut those lids out was with a Dremel tool with a carbide bit. Okay, that makes life a lot easier. But if you're trying to cut one of these with an X-Acto blade, I would be very careful about cutting, doing that kind of project. That's a lot of cutting, and you're probably gonna, you know, knowing me, I'd be cutting a finger off or something. I'm just that clumsy. So, but anyway, you should, for as far as what you want to have, drill bit was good. Having a really big one. I know not a lot of people have one of these, but this makes life so easy to cut PVC pipe, and then actually to cut the angle. Literally takes you less than 30 seconds to do all of that. But there's other ways to cut PVC pipe. You know, you can use a hacksaw. You can use other things. A hacksaw is really cheap. If you don't have one laying around, you can really get one for like $4 or $5 at Home Depot. Well, that's about it. I just wanted to give you my input and just show what I've done here. And you know, this is kind of what it looks like, you know, with the zip ties. And what's good about this tubing, if you make a mistake, it actually it collapses and expands. So it shrinks and stretches. So you can actually cut a little bit more and then shrink it up a little bit because it's corrugated. And you know, that's, again, this is what the drain looks like. The first one that I did, I made a little too big, and so I just used a little hot glue around that. It's not really showing up, but the rest of them, when I knew how I could just rim it around and just take my time, you can make those things where you can barely fit that pipe back in. And so I've got 4 of these now all set up this year for growing, and you know, literally like 2.5 hours of labor is all I had to do to get this set up. And I can't imagine, I would probably say you'd have to double your time if you're trying to cut these lids out. And if you're doing a big project like me where you got 4 of these, or some person that's doing more, oh my God, I mean, you better have a good day, and you better like wear some wrist braces, because I'm going to get carpal tunnel from trying to cut those lids out. Anyway, everything, hope y'all have success. Godspeed.